So I'm ready to get into this because this was something. I rewatched it tonight to kind of give myself a refresher course, and I'm kind of glad I did.
Amazing, because I've seen this movie probably. Listen, I've never seen Citizen Kane, but God damn it, I've seen Never Too Young to Die about 6 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, God has nothing to do with it, sir.
No.
The fire flow, shorty getting down, going up the fire pole. Radical in the mitten where we mad cold. I got the bullfrog flow, you a tadpole. Feel the love, feel the rush, feel the buzz, let it brush ya. Bald eagle clutch.
Welcome to Someone's Favorite Movie, the podcast where every movie is someone's favorite. I'm coming to you from the Pod Shack outside beautiful Flint, Michigan, USA. My name is Randy, and with me is my partner in crime. Although he hates me most of the time, his name is name is Tomko. Welcome, sir. How are you?
This one's gonna take a while to get burned out of my head. The heavy drinking will ensue as a result.
Tomko, you like cheese, right?
I like a lot of variety, but I wouldn't say I'm a blanket lover of all cheeses. Why?
What's your favorite type of cheese?
Probably Swiss.
Swiss. Well, I'm here to tell you that Never Too Young to Die is so bad it's Gouda.
Oh,
by the way,
I like the wordplay, sir.
Yeah, by the way, that pun right there, a lot more clever than 99% of the movie we're going to talk about today. It's a movie that everyone, I feel, needs to see at least once in their silly little lives.
I would agree. I can't believe that this isn't a more famous movie. I really can't.
It's a movie that stars a future Uncle Jesse, a former protege of Prince, a one-time James Bond, an all-time all-star Freddy Krueger, and a rock star icon who traded in his face paint for makeup. All in one movie. What could be better? What?
I have to admit, when I saw the cast list for this movie, I was immediately pissed. I despise Gene Simmons. I loathe John Stamos, and I just felt bad for George Lazenby.
Yeah, poor George, huh?
Yeah, he almost had it all, man.
He was very close to having it all, but I will tell you that the one Bond film he was in, On Your Majesty's Secret Service, is really
pretty
good. The ending to that movie is like my favorite ending to a Bond movie. It's so like such a downer and like real. And in a lot of ways, the Bond movies aren't real at all, but the ending to that movie is so amazing. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it definitely. I guess it's gotten a lot more respect in its home video afterlife than when it first debuted on the big screen. But it's just kind of a shame that they didn't give him more of a chance. I mean, they gave Timothy Dalton 2 movies.
Yeah.
They could have at least given George Lazenby another one.
See, in George Lazenby, he had the look. He had the charisma, I would argue.
He just had the bad fortune of having to follow Connery.
This is true. However, when I went on a little Bond binge there, and I made it through all of the 60s, really. And when you go from Connery to Lazenby, the transition wasn't that bad. Not as bad as I thought it'd be. And then Connery came back famously for a big, huge paycheck because the studio was desperate to have him back.
Mm.
And then after that is Roger Moore, and that transition I couldn't deal with. It was too much.
Yeah, the Roger Moore stuff really has not aged well at all.
Yeah. One day I do plan on watching all of them, but I don't know. I love the Connery so much that I can't, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it just seems like Roger Moore is Uncle Jimmy. You know, he's just this goofy, lovable guy that you just can't take too seriously.
Good old Uncle Jimmy.
Pretty much.
Do you have an Uncle Jimmy?
I do, but it's been a very, very, very long time since I've seen him because he lives way on the other side of the country.
Okay. Well, I bet he's still a goofy bastard then.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, me too.
If he's related to me, it's a pretty good opportunity. We've talked about my extended family on this show before.
Look in the archives, folks. There's an entire diagram of the Coe family tree.
Not a lot of branches.
Not a lot of branches. It goes straight up mostly.
So what have you been watching lately, sir? Anything interesting?
You know what? I did something really fun the other night, and fun is in rare supply these days, I guess. And it involved going out, which is a scary proposition these days as well. The town that my girlfriend lives in, Bay City, they were having a thing where they were going to put up a huge inflatable screen and create a impromptu drive-in in a big parking lot. And they were going to practice social distancing, so they were limiting the amount of people to like 40 vehicles. You couldn't get out of the vehicle. The cars were staggered, so it was every other parking spot. It was really nice. And we took my girlfriend's 3 kids, all under the age of 9, and we saw Labyrinth on the big screen, sir. Are you a fan of Labyrinth? I know you're David.
I have never seen that movie. My wife has a copy of it, but I've never actually sat down and watched it.
That surprises me because you're a big Bowie fan, so I figured you probably...
Well, not only that, but it was written by one of the main guys from Monty Python.
And it was directed by Jim Henson. It's got...
Yeah, it does something... I should watch that.
Yeah, you should. I'm surprised you haven't, quite honestly. I was worried. I saw Labyrinth once when I was a kid, and I remember being about the age of the 9-year-old, maybe a little bit younger when I saw it, and my babysitter made me watch it, and she was a teenager, made me watch it, and I found it kind of creepy. And so I was worried how the girls would react to this, and they really loved it quite a bit, and it was such a pleasant surprise. Like, before the movie even, they were playing all of Bowie's greatest hits over the radio station you had to tune into. And
awesome.
Yeah, they were actually digging. Well, the 2 younger ones were really digging the Bowie songs. The 9-year-old is getting close to being a teenager, and she's like, oh, gosh, you know. But the younger ones was really digging it. I'm like, well, this is great. Look at this classic rock and classic movies. I'm making a difference in this world.
Yeah, drive-thrus are starting to make a major comeback because of the quote-unquote new normal. I guess even Walmart is going to be dipping their toes into it, where they're going to be turning something like 1,800 of the parking lots in their stores into drive-ins every weekend.
Yeah, it's a good idea. This event was very well organized and very restricted and whatnot, and I think that's what they have to be. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I hope they do it again because it was a lot of fun. So that's my big watch lately. How about you, sir?
Well, I've been kind of taking the opposite approach, where I've been buying a shitload of movies through streaming sites. The one that I thought you would probably get a kick out of is Vivarium. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of it, but I'm not really familiar about what it's about. I heard it was pretty good, but I'm not...
It's one of those movies that's really hard to describe without giving everything away. It's kind of a sci-fi horror black humor type of movie.
Okay.
Jesse Eisenberg is in this, and his co-lead is an actor. I can't remember her name, but they were both really good in it. Essentially, they're a young couple. They're not married, but they're starting to kind of settle down with one another, and they decide that it's time to look for a house. And they go to a real estate agent he drives them out into the middle of nowhere to this brand new subdivision where all of the houses look exactly alike. Everything is laid out the same lawn setup, same rooms, same everything. He shows them around the model house, and then he just disappears. They figure, well, that's weird, and they try to just go about their daily lives and drive home, and they cannot get out. Next thing they know, they have packages delivered that has food and clothing and things like that. Next thing they know, they have another package that has a baby boy.
Oh.
And it turns out that the whole movie is just this vicious satire of domestic nightmares.
Oh, wow.
And it was really well done. And it was just subtle enough to where you kind of had to look for a lot of the symbolism, but it was also not so subtle that it was pretentious. And I just thought it was a very well done and effective movie.
You know, Jesse Eisenberg is low-key having a pretty interesting career.
Absolutely.
With his film choices, like Zombieland, obviously, but then he did like American Ultra, which is a weird movie about, basically it's Jason Bourne. If Jason Bourne only got his super reflexes when he smoked pot. And that's American Ultra, which is a weird concept for a movie, but at the same time, you're like, well, I'm sort of glad this exists. And Jesse Eisenberg's all about it. He was in a movie last year called The Art of Self-Defense, which is, I recommend.
I don't think I've even heard of this one.
We might have to do it on the show, quite honestly, because I'd love to hear an extended look hear you extended talk about this, because it's quite an interesting movie. It's about Jesse Eisenberg is kind of a meek character, obviously, because that's who he is, I guess. And he gets jumped one night when he's walking home, and he decides to enlist in a karate class, and he throws in his entire life into it. His entire life becomes the karate class, and it turns into this dark, weird, twisted. It's very hard to explain. It's kind of Fight Club-esque, but not.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
I'm actually to the point now where I'll at least check out a trailer for any movie that I find Jesse Eisenberg in. He's really doing interesting things right now.
Mm-hmm. I will say that I've also recently watched the Stand miniseries from 1994.
You know, I tried rewatching that right when everything kind of hit the fan, and I don't think it's holding up too well these days, sir.
You don't think so? Well,
no, it just has that feel of a cheap mid-90s made-for-television movie.
Oh,
which
man.
is exactly what it is, but
it wasn't,
back in the day, you were able to kind of forgive that shit.
It wasn't that cheap. It was $28 million put into that thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. It feels like it was very much a product of its time, and not in that cool time capsule sort of way either.
Well, guess what?
You love it.
Me and Nick from the Epic Film Guys recorded a big, long episode of someone's favorite movie last night, all about the Stand miniseries. So you'll have to listen.
I will.
And hear our argument as to why it rocks.
Now, you know that they're going to be redoing it, don't you?
Yeah, we did talk about that as well, and we're very excited about that.
I would, you know what? After the success of those two It movies, I'm willing to give it a shot.
That's the thing, right? Stephen King's really having some sort of resurgence.
Yeah, I heard that Pet Sematary remake wasn't all that great.
Yeah, that's what Nick said too. I didn't see it, but everything else seems to... Are you a Stephen King fan?
I am a lapsed Stephen King fan. I used to just devour his shit when I was in middle school and high school, up until my mid-20s, and I just kind of fell off.
See, I was the same way. That's what I told Nick. When actually the Stand miniseries, when I originally watched it on TV, that's what drew me to seek out Stephen King's work. And I went to the very beginning of his stuff. I started with his second book, Salem's Lot, and then I went back to Carrie and then The Shining. And my Alexa's going off for some reason. Thank you. Thank you, technology. The government's spying on this podcast. Listen, I'm putting it out for free, so don't worry about it, Mr. Trump. You can hear it then, along with the rest of the world, okay? But anyways, so that the Stan miniseries really drove me to seek him out, and I was the same way. Middle school, high school. Then when I got into college, I thought I was too good and pretentious, and I had to read literature then. Like, Stephen King was beneath me. But
now I had the exact opposite reason. I was working a full-time factory job and reading comic books, and it just kind of fell by the wayside.
Well, that happens. I mean,
it does.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen King is kind of comic booky anyways, so.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely wears his superhero influences well placed on his sleeve.
Yeah, and like his son Joe Hill's the same way.
Yeah.
The thing I love about the books are that they're all interconnected, and I dig that sort of shit. Like,
yes.
Continuity is great. That's why I originally fell in love with Doctor Who a few years ago, because I found out about the rich history, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much shit here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I again, that's one of those ones that I've tried to watch, but my television time is limited, and Mrs. Tomko just couldn't get into it, which subsequently meant that I just didn't have time because I've got so much other shit on my plate that I got to get through.
Yeah, I get it.
One of these days, though, I will give it another try.
Yeah. But anyways, watching the Stan miniseries again has really lit a fire under my ass, because I read the book, too, to prepare for the podcast. So now I'm all into Stephen King again. So that's kind of fun.
Now, have you seen 11/22/63?
I have not, no.
Look for it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's on Hulu, isn't it?
It's on Hulu. I might be able to get you a copy through other means. It's definitely well worth the investment in time.
Yeah.
It's one of the better new projects that I've seen from Stephen King in quite some time.
Yeah. It's on my list. Like, my list is as long as yours, I'm sure. But
I'm sure.
But you know what? I got to make time to watch Never Too Young to Die for the 6th time. So, my God,
this was an experience, sir.
It is. In order to understand fully, dear listener, what you're getting into, if you're unaware of this movie, the very first line of the movie features Gene Simmons playing an evil hermaphrodite. I'm going to let that soak in for a minute. You're welcome. His name is Velvet von Ragnar, and he's addressing a group of his followers who they all are punks, and like,
really, I didn't think punk. I thought background extra from the Road Warrior.
Yeah, that too, because I think they're interchangeable in the 80s. The 80s version of punk music and people that liked it were all post-apocalyptic thugs from the Road Warrior.
Very much so, yes. They looked like they belonged in the Outback.
Yeah, but the very first words in this movie, the very first words, 3 words from Gene Simmons, "My little turd balls." And that's how you open a movie. That's how you capture an imagination. That's it right there.
And I want you to bear in mind, I walked into this movie completely blind. I knew John Stamos was in it. That's all I knew about it. I knew the title. And then I see that, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be some kind of weird post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland movie from the 80s. No, it's not that at all.
No, it is not that at all. And I'll have you know, Tomko, doing this movie means that we have done 2 out of 3 of the Gene Simmons trifecta from the 80s.
We're going to have to polish that trilogy off, sir.
Yes, I think so, too. We did Trick or Treat last October. You can find that in the archives. We're doing Never Too Young to Die tonight. And the last one remaining is Runaway, starring Tom Selleck as an action hero against a villainous Gene Simmons.
But does Gene Simmons dress like a cross between Cher and Dr. Frankenfurter in that movie?
He does not. No, he just looks like Gene Simmons.
It's automatically inferior.
Yeah, I would agree with that quite a bit, actually. John Stamos is in this movie. He's your hero. He's Stargrove Run into the danger zone. Star Grove. Star Grove. Star
Yes, I'm going to
Grove.
have that song in my head for 5 goddamn weeks now.
Yeah, right? I mean, we really need to put together an 80s playlist on Spotify between
I was actually contemplating that myself, sir.
between this and the frickin' songs from Aerobicide. My God. Jesus.
Brain earworms from hell.
Yeah, they are too.
Now, when you were first watching this movie and you saw the training sequence, did you think that gymnastics were going to be playing a bigger part in this movie than they actually did?
I mean, you would think so, right? Because the beginning of the movie, we're treated to approximately 5 minutes of John Stamos doing gymnastics, bouncing up and down on a trampoline over
I want to put an amendum to that, sir.
Okay.
We are treated to 5 minutes of John Stamos' character doing gymnastics.
Right, sure.
Probably about 45 seconds of actual Stamos, though.
Yeah, it really is. And
it's a very obvious body double throughout the entire course.
And while this is going on, the theme song, which says Stargrove repeatedly over and over again, just to hammer home how heroic John Stamos' mullet really is playing in the background. And he's just bouncing up and down and doing flips and doing flips. And you're like, oh, a gymnastic guru that can bounce on a trampoline. That's going to play a part later. And it doesn't.
No. I honestly thought that they were just doing everything to set up kind of like a Robin-esque character that does flips and is into hardcore parkour. Nope. None of that.
None of it. What this movie is trying to be is kind of a son of James Bond sort of deal.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole reason why Lazenby was in it. It was kind of like a passing of the torch type of story. But what it ended up becoming is kind of like a less interesting version of the Brock Landers movies from Boogie Nights.
Wow. Yeah, that's a deep pull.
I'm not wrong, though.
No, you're not wrong. I mean, do you think when they made this movie that, they really thought, hey, this is going to be a franchise? Did somebody? Cause
I kind of think they did, but I'm also trying to figure out, were they playing it seriously, or was their tongue in their cheeks, or what's going on here?
Well, I found an interview with the director, Gil Bettman, and he said he wanted Never Too Young to Die to be a cross between Rocky Horror Picture Show meets Rambo. And he said this on an interview on the Projection Booth podcast. And in the same interview, he said the screenwriter of the movie, Stephen Paul, wanted to create his own Bond franchise. But the only problem is Stephen has no imagination. So
you don't say.
Yeah, so we get James Bond meets Rocky Horror meets Rambo. Got it. And
there was so much cocaine being used in the movie industry back in those days, wasn't there?
I mean, every pitch meeting had to have just a line already there. I think that was a standard issue.
So do you want to get into the plot of this? If you could even say it has one.
I don't even know that we need to. I think we can just talk about the movie because whatever.
Yeah. Well, my main thing was that they were trying to have this twist ending where it turns out that Gene Simmons' character was a double agent for the spy organization, when it was just so blatantly obvious that when his character was with John Stamos and Vanity, that it was clearly Gene Simmons in a ginger wig and bad beard.
Right, yeah. Gene Simmons has a distinctive look to himself. So to think that you were going to fool anybody with the worst makeup job in the world is, you weren't fooling anybody, I can tell you that.
There's just so much. I mean, this movie, I have to admit, I had fun. I was entertained.
Oh, yeah, it's super fun.
I was entertained in the kind of way where it reminds me of that old Bill Hicks line. You're tilting your head like a dog that's been shown a card trick where you just can't really figure out what the hell's going on. That's kind of this movie.
Okay. My favorite part of this movie is Vanity. I had no idea who Vanity was. My God, hey girl, hey.
Oh yes.
She was Prince's protege. And initially the Prince wanted to, of course he did, right? He wanted to name her Vagina, but that
Oh God.
because of course he did. But that didn't stick, and she kind of broke things off with Prince and
Paisley one.
yeah, and wanted to go to Hollywood to make a name for herself.
She actually didn't have that bad of a career in films. She was in Action Jackson, and she was also in The Last Dragon.
Yeah, those are both movies we'll have to cover at some point.
I was just thinking that about Action Jackson.
Yeah,
one of the greatest mainstream film titles of all time.
Have you ever seen Action Jackson?
I saw it when I was 9.
Oh, okay.
I just remember thinking it was kind of weird seeing Craig T. Nelson from Coach as a bad guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's pretty ruthless in that movie. Whatever.
Now, my favorite performer, and I'm shocked to say this, was Gene Simmons.
Oh, really?
Because he had to know what kind of movie he was in when he was seeing the script and seeing what was going on in the set around him. There's no way you can have any kind of delusions of grandeur when you're in that situation, but he committed to this role in a way that very few actors ever will.
I will give him all the credit in the world. Gene Simmons is out of his fucking mind in this movie. Like, Over the Top isn't just the ultimate arm wrestling move. Like, it's the perfect way to describe his performance. He has this ridiculously high-pitched laugh that he does, and every time he does it, his eyes roll back into his head. It's amazing. Like, he completely just throws himself into every scene.
Yeah, but he's not that smart of a character.
Oh, no.
You know?
No, not at all.
Because, I mean, he could have took out was it Star-Lord or
Star-Lord is from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, he could have took
Stargrove.
out John Stamos' character at any second when he was walking around with a fake beard, and it would have been a lot more effective. You know, he could have done that.
Yeah. The plot is that Gene Simmons is going to poison the cities. He shouts the plot at the very beginning of the movie, just so we're clear, just to get it out of the way, I guess. He says he wants to poison the city's water supply by blowing up a dam, and then he's got these plans on a basically.
Well, no. What he wants to do is I don't think he wants to blow up a dam as much as he wants to funnel nuclear waste or toxic sludge.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Into the reservoir, which why would a city plan that way?
Yeah. Well, we got this.
But wouldn't you want that shit as far away from your consumables as possible?
Yeah, apparently it's pretty easy because he's got the plans for it on some. It looks like
floppy disk.
Yeah, he's got it on a floppy disk, and
I'm sorry, the RAM K.
Yeah, the RAM K. It looks like a flash drive, kind of.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, there's so much of this movie where if you start to ask even basic questions, you're going to pull that thread and the sweater's going to come apart. So just don't think about this movie. Just get some beer or whatever your intoxicant of choice is these days, kick back and watch the insanity unfold.
I'm impressed, kind of, that I don't know how this movie got made. I don't. I'm impressed that it got made. John Stamos said he looks back at this movie and he says that I'm at the point in my career where I can look back at things that were really fucking stupid and go, oh my God, I'm so glad I did that. I can really have a laugh about it. And this, referring to Never Too Young to Die, is certainly one of the biggest. I would love more people to see it. And he said that Gene Simmons has urged him to try to buy the movie rights to turn it into like a midnight movie so more people can see it and dress up. And
this deserves a cult audience I can't believe it doesn't have.
It doesn't, no. There was a Blu-ray of it that came out a couple years ago. And just in case you're offended by the amazing transfer that they had, They included a special feature on it where you can watch a shitty transfer from a cropped VHS as an extra. Like, I'm not even joking. I don't know why
honestly, this is the kind of movie that might be enhanced by it. Kind of like, how sometimes old records that are full of pops and cracks and stuff like that added kind of a charm to the music.
Add some character, yeah.
Yeah, I think tracking lines and resolution lines may add to this experience.
Yeah, you might be right.
Now, do we want to talk about the cabaret scene?
Yeah, sure.
There's so much about this that does not make any sense. The scene before that, John Stamos finds out that his father, he was told he died in an accident, even though the body is filled with bullets.
Right.
Somehow that's an accident.
He was killed in a car accident, I think was the story.
Yes, he lost control of the car, even though he has a chest full of buckshot.
And he always thought his dad was a troubleshooter for oil companies. And
turns out he was a super spy, and he bequeathed to his only son the farm that the son had no idea about. Most people in that situation would be like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? How did dad afford this on his salary? No, he just takes it all in stride. He drives up to this farm where he finds Vanity being attacked by this low-rent Danny Trejo dressed as a 1980s wrestler. And then the barn somehow explodes because a mysterious fire starts that they never explain where it came from.
Yeah.
She explains to him that she's going to hunt down Gene Simmons, and she wants him to stay put because he's a civilian, and he's a college kid at that.
Yeah.
He then gets on his bike and follows her, and this lady, who we're assumed to believe is a world-class super spy, can't even notice some douchebag with feathered hair on a dirt bike trailing right behind her.
Right.
She gets out of a Corvette surrounded by grimy dune buggies, people dressed as transients, and here she is in an elegant evening gown.
Yeah.
And John Stamos is wearing a pastel shirt topped with some kind of weird day-glow sports jacket. They make their way into a bar where bikers are literally zooming through on their bikes, and the star attraction is Gene Simmons. Full headgear, corset, fishnet stockings, vamp makeup. It's a sight to behold. But I did a little bit of research on this. Do you know that Kiss had a variety show special in the 70s?
Yeah, well, wasn't it Kiss Meets the Phantom in the Park or something like that?
No, that was their movie.
Oh, okay.
They had an actual variety show where they had different acts come out. And one of the acts was Lynda Carter.
Really?
And she is dressed exactly in the same outfit that Gene Simmons is wearing.
Oh, no. Lynda Carter, could do no wrong.
Yes. No, she is a goddess among ants.
Yeah. Gene Simmons in that outfit, Nightmare Fuel. I am looking this up right now to see.
But again, Gene Simmons does it in a way where you're not immediately scratching your eyeballs out and taking antidepressants. You're doing it in a way where you want to see where this train wreck's going.
Okay, 1, that is the same outfit. 2, oh my God.
Lynda Carter, right?
Yes, Jesus.
Yeah. Well, afterwards, John Stamos goes up to Gene Simmons' dressing room to kind of, ask for an autograph because he wants to plant this bug device that his very stereotypical Asian friend, who is also a tech genius and weapons expert, gave him. The bugging device is hidden in a piece of chewing gum that you're supposed to chew and then plant anywhere, but somehow you don't crush the bugging device while chewing it.
Shh, don't ruin the plot.
And what follows is just, I suppose with 2020 vision, literally, is you could not do this scene today without being ran out of town because it's kind of offensive. In a way where the hero is the straight white male, and he proclaims himself to be better because of that. And the villain is a transgender hermaphrodite that's trying to get in our hero's pants.
Yeah.
Kind of awkward watching it these days, but goddamn if I wasn't entertained.
Yeah, it is a very hard tightrope to tap dance on, because it never feels, I guess it never feels super offensive, but it
doesn't feel really mean-spirited.
No, not at all. That it could have been. I feel like it was right on the cusp of being offensive, but they never quite got there. I know that.
I think it's just because there's no way to take this movie seriously.
Yeah. Simmons said that he was influenced by Hedwig and the Angry Inch. So he kind of based his look and the way he acted on that. There was a transgender punk rocker named Jane County, and that's who Hedwig and the Angry Inch was based on, and he used that as inspiration.
Okay. I was actually guessing New York Dolls, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about this movie. I mean, it's got an awkward as hell seduction scene.
Oh, well, here you have to talk about the seduction scene, because so John Stamos is your would-be action hero, and he spends most of the movie, like the way he delivers his lines.
Think of a fully articulated action figure, then imagine the opposite, and then imagine that unarticulated action figure trying to deliver dialogue.
Yeah.
And that's John Stamos' performance.
Well, like his character arc makes no sense, because they're going for a new Bond type of hero here. And obviously John Stamos is not anywhere near the same playing field as Sean Connery or even George Lazenby. And his gimmick is that he's a genius. We already said that doesn't factor into the movie at all. His roommate's a genius who makes flamethrowers in his dorm room that barely work.
And when they do work, they just horrifically kill people while he laughs maniacally.
Yeah, that's the thing. They have no training in weapons or anything, but when they go to save Vanity at one point, they are slaughtering gang members with machine guns and blowing them straight to hell with no remorse whatsoever. Like, you spent the entire morning jumping up and down on your little trampoline, and now you're taking lives and it doesn't affect you. And I expect, especially in the 80s, you expect an action hero to be super confident and, like, drop one-liners and stuff. But the entire movie, every single line that John Stamos delivers, especially when he's interacting with Vanity, he just delivers his lines by blinking and pouting and shuffling his feet around. Like he... Especially with Vanity, he acts like this, like, starstruck teenager. And the seduction scene is, you have to see the seduction scene because it's amazing. It really is. So after John Stamos and his friend save Vanity, they get held up. They get put into basically witness protection because the army or whatever, the spy society, I don't know who these people are, say that Ragnar is out to get them, so they have to be put in witness protection and maybe used as bait. So basically it's Vanity and John Stamos playing house, and John Stamos had just got done saving Vanity's life. And Vanity tries seducing Lance Stargrove, a.k.a. John Stamos, and he just pouts and whines, saying, "You don't really like me at all." He's like, "Oh, no. Like, here's one of the most beautiful people that anyone has ever seen just wanting to give you a throw, and you're going to pout about it." So she starts to strip to a bikini and oiling herself up, and John Stamos' big reaction is to aggressively chew an apple.
Yeah.
And then when
is there something about the pulp in an apple that's going to kill a young man's libido?
I don't know, because he goes back and gets another apple too and starts chewing on that.
Oh, I just think I realized what they were trying to do. I think they were trying, like, the whole apple from the garden and temptation.
Oh, listen.
Oh, that makes it even dumber now.
Yeah, we don't need metaphor in this movie at all. And then she starts hosing herself down topless, and he's like, have mercy. And that leads to one of the most awkward sex scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. I mean, everything from the editing to the cinematography to the background music is just off.
At one point, you actually see Vanity bite John Stamos' nipple. And I'm like, I bet she was just completely unhinged. Like, I bet she was hard to handle.
Either that or she was just going into like some kind of 1,000-yard stare type of situation where she's seen enough shit and she's completely lost it.
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of people on this set probably went through the same thing.
According to John Stamos, at a cast meet and greet before the movie started filming, he met Vanity and she immediately put her hand down my pants before the appetizers started coming out. He recalls, she completely seduced the shit out of me. I thought, wow, this is going to be a great movie.
Well, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm feeling uncomfortable shaking people's hands these days.
right. The 80s were a different time.
I guess. But yeah, I mean, what else sticks out in this?
Well,
I don't know. Again, you just don't want to poke this too much because it's not going to take a whole lot for it to completely collapse. But I have a feeling that next time I see my buddy Jake, we're going to end up having a case of beer, and I'm going to make him have to sit down and watch this.
Oh yeah, you should, for real. Yeah, definitely. Everybody needs to see this. I think it's worth a watch.
Oh God, yes.
It's so stupid, but it is a lot of fun.
I'd say that this is almost like the action movie version of Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah, that's a good comparison, actually. I don't remember how I discovered this movie, but I know I first saw it like 2 years ago, probably. And when I saw it, I couldn't believe it, how entertained I was by it. Like, I understood that it was dumb, but I was so entertained it didn't even matter.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely one of the dumbest movies I've ever seen.
Right.
And I saw Superman 4 in the theaters, if that tells you anything.
I did too, and you know what? The Nuclear Man's fingernails scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, but not as badly as Gene Simmons' finger.
No. Gene Simmons has a finger, and he fingers people. That's how
death.
To death. He kills them. He just has a real sharp fingernail, and he pokes them in their neck, and they die to death.
Also, do you think, like, Robert Englund owed a bookie some money? And that's why he was in this movie?
I was just about to bring him up, because he's completely wasted in this movie.
And he comes out of nowhere. It's like, what the fuck are you doing here? This was in your prime.
Yeah, I know. He plays Gene Simmons, like... Lackey, maybe head scientist in charge of the nuclear waste project or whatever, and he seems to have a crush on Gene Simmons' character, and he doesn't really do a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, and that could have been played by anybody that they probably could have gotten a lot cheaper and used that money for the production instead.
He had to have done it as a favor to somebody, or maybe he just wanted to meet Gene Simmons and get an autograph. Who knows? But yeah, I was excited to see him in it, but I wish he had a bigger role. Like, he could have been, you have Robert Englund, you could have had him be Velvet Van Ragnar's second in command or something and put him in makeup, and
that would have been a much better use. But I mean, they did a bad enough job with explaining the characters that they already had. Did you want to give them more work, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. There's the lines that Gene Simmons delivers to his followers at various points in the movie are really something to behold. They are really amazing. Like, they have their own language and whatever. At one point, he's throwing pills to his followers
out of a cupcake pan.
Out of a cupcake pan. Oh, geez. I
know what I was going to talk to you about. the special effects, and I know that you can't see it, but I'm using finger quotes around the word special. Like the dummies that they flung off of the balconies
right.
that are just so obviously like $20 mannequins that they put together at the last second.
Yeah.
And the way that they impact the ground is just so comically bad that you can't help but crack up at it. Because out of all of the takes, the editor said, that's the one we're going with.
I know I said that they danced on the line between offensive and not, but I guess the ending to the movie is somewhat offensive because
I can see that. Because why is John Stamos' character better than Gene Simmons? Because he's all man.
Yeah, so it's the final confrontation between Lance Stargrove and Velvet Von Ragnar. They're on the top of the dam and they're like battling back and forth. And at one point, John Stamos hits him and Simmons' character goes to the ground and kind of pouts and says, "Oh, you hit me." And John Stamos goes, "Oh, you really are like a girl, aren't you?"
Oh, God, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh.
And then there's a point where John Stamos bites Ragnar's boob. There's a shot of...
Yeah, I can now say I've seen Gene Simmons' tits.
Yes.
Thanks, Randy.
You're welcome. I try to do what I can to make your life better, sir.
Yes. Yeah, that's going to stick with me for a while, folks.
And then he's dangling from the edge of the dam, and he's about to get the finger from Gene Simmons. And John Stamos tries to seduce Gene Simmons. And
I wouldn't say he tries to. I think he succeeds in seducing Gene Simmons.
Well, he had that luxurious feathered mullet and that big blank face. How could you not be seduced? And he says, "Oh no, how about a kiss?" And of course, Gene leans forward with his trademarked huge tongue, and I guess that's the one time you do see the gymnastic skills come into play.
Yeah, well, that in the fight in the household.
Yeah, I guess so.
Where they're torturing him by shoving his head into the sink, and he's clearly blocking the shots by holding his elbow so that they hit the rim of the sink instead of his head.
Yeah, he gets captured by the people and brought back to the farm because they want to find the floppy disk. And he gets his ass beat for about 2 solid minutes until he gets thrown down and he's literally crying. And he sees a picture of his dad and he just all of a sudden remembers who he is and can fight. And
well, I mean, he and his dad did share a mental connection at the time of the father's death, which was never explained.
Oh, that's true.
Or brought back.
Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, Ragnar kills George Lazenby, who plays John Stamos' dad in the movie. And at the same time, John Stamos is doing an amazing gymnastics competition. And the moment that Lazenby gets literally destroyed by a shotgun,
he gets hit in the chest so hard with the round that he does backflips.
Yes, and that's when John Stamos does a backflip and completely biffs it in the competition and lands. And
and again, that's never explained.
No, you don't need... I mean, do you really need to explain the bond between father and son, Tomko? Come on.
Well, okay, I have a bond with my father, but I'm not going to have physical manifestations about his stresses.
Oh, you don't know that. I say I should go up to Father Co and punch him in the nose, and I bet you feel it.
Oh, yeah, let me know how that works out for you.
Oh my God, he's a scrapper.
Let's put it this way: he's 73 years old, and he's still climbing through the Yukon, dragging moose out.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Tomko, why is your father a man and you're not?
Because he kept all of the Y chromosomes for himself, sir.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. So, do we have anything else that we want to talk about this masterpiece? Question mark.
It is a masterpiece, and in the eyes of this podcast, someone's favorite movie, it is a masterpiece. I would say, and I would
for
say
all the wrong reasons, but it counts as a masterpiece.
It's so wrong. It's certainly right. You need to check it out, people. I think we both endorse this, don't you?
Yeah, I know it's on Amazon Prime, and I'm pretty sure you might be able to find a copy of it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's definitely on Amazon Prime. It was on Tubi for a little bit. I don't know if it still is. But yeah, if you look around, you can find it. If somebody wants to buy me the Blu-ray and send it to me, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
And if you want to let me borrow that, I got to see the low-res version of this.
Right. Tell the people where they can find you, Tomko.
You can find me on a little show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World. It's been described as a show overhearing the drunken ramblings of two geeks at the other end of the bar. We talk about pop culture, comic books, anything in between, up to and including time travel and how we'd abuse it. You can listen on Apple Podcast, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and just about anywhere else you find a podcast. If you want to reach out to me, I'm on Twitter at The Drunken Dork and on Facebook at Jake and Tom Conquer the Group.
Perfect. You can find me on Twitter at mretailslave. I've not been active because I've been taking a social media break. But
Same here, and it feels pretty damn good.
Yeah, I don't miss it at all. I took a break from podcasting and social media, and I feel re-energized. Sometimes you got to do that. You just got to take a break from everything and, just concentrate on other things. But you can find me on Retail Slave. I'm going to be more active. My other program is called Miserable Retail Slave. It's a big dumb comedy show that's coming back too. Don't you worry, folks. This podcast isn't going anywhere. We've got this episode that you're listening to now. Like I said before, Nick and I recorded an episode on The Stand last night. Earlier today, I recorded an episode on the movie Crossroads with my cousin. Not the Britney Spears Crossroads, the Ralph Macchio.
The Ralph Macchio one?
Yeah.
You made a mistake. You chose the wrong one.
And I think one of my friends wants to do the Mighty Ducks with me, so we're going to do that. And
I've got a whole list of shit I want to watch with you.
I know.
Chief among them, Evil Dead the Musical.
And me and Tomko are going to do the Evil Dead the Musical next. So we've also been threatening to do Sleepaway Camp, the franchise.
The entire saga.
Yes. So
awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. That's the name of the game, just having fun, right? You just got to have fun. So until next time.
See you later, folks.
Bye-bye.